everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me. I thought I would take you guys through my process of making some Easter cards. I started this tradition last year. It's the first year that I got into card making, so I thought why not do it again because I had a lot of fun. So sit back, relax and enjoy the video. Okay guys, so this first card that I am making now, I've used a die from Uniquely Creative, and that is the white lines, that die, and I've cut two of them, stuck them together to make it more sturdy, and then I've entwined the coloured paper into the pattern to make the pattern, and that has come out really good. I was going to do it horizontally because it's cut on the diagonal. It was a bit too difficult to slide them in on the horizontal, so I've decided to go on the angle, and I much prefer how that turned out because it just allows the colours to kind of flow neatly throughout it. I'm currently struggling here to actually get the paper to stay rightly aligned, so I'm having to fiddle around with it until I'm happy. I'm actually working from the back side so that the front is not facing camera. That's just to make sure that it is giving us the right look. This is what it looks like completed now, and I really like how it turns out. This is the card base I'm going to use. This is also from Uniquely Creative, and I'm just measuring it up to make sure that it does fit okay, and I'm just using the tacky craft glue from Spotlight to adhere it to the card. I did contemplate using foam to pop it up a little bit more, but I thought that it would take away from the actual background being what it is, and just it didn't need it. It was perfect how it was, so why mess with something that is already working? I'm just gluing it all together now, and you can see from here once it's all stuck on how it's intertwined. I've gone odds and ends, so you'll see that some go over the top, some under the bottom, but you can't really tell once the card's all put together. It looks like it's intentional. These are the dies that I have used to go on the top of the card to be the focal point, and these are just little gnomes holding little Easter items. I have popped these up using some foam tape, and that will just give the card the dimension that it needs without it being a bit too much. Here I'm trying to work out the best spot to put them. I'm going to line up my card base with the lines on the mat just so that I can make sure I'm getting the center of the card. I'm going to place the gnome that has the golden egg in the center. The one with the carrot will be on the right hand side, and then the one holding the bunny will be on the left hand side. And here's a completed card. Moving on to the next card that I create. It is a rabbit with a multicolored background. I love making backgrounds. Here I'm trying to see what the background looks like on white versus black, and I do like the black better. It just makes the bunny pop, whereas the white, it was kind of drowned out. This background I've made myself just using the Tim Holtz Distressed Oxides and blending colors together, spritzing them with a bit of water and then a bit of white just to fleck it on, just to give it some pizzazz. And I really like how it turned out. Making backgrounds is something that I'm really invested in. I find it the most relaxing thing that I do in my craft room. So sometimes if I don't have any motivation or any inspiration to make a card or do anything crafty, I might just sit there and just play around with some ink and see what kind of backgrounds I come up with, and unless I hate it, I'm going to leave it there until I find a day where I actually want to use it. I've cut down the black cardstock to be the right size so that I can glue on the bunny rabbit. So far I'm really liking the new Cricut trimmer that I have. It works really good. To stick it down, I'm going to use the craft tacky glue from Spotlight again. Here I'm just showing you that I've embossed the background. You can't really see it though, but I've used a dotted embossing folder. It just gives the panel a bit of texture, and it needed just a little bit something else on it so that it wasn't just so flat. I'm just sticking the background to the black piece and trying to find a card base for this to fit onto, and I've decided to go with this one here because if I chop it in half, it'll make an A2 size card, and then I can use the other side for another card later on, which you'll see later on in the video. And this particular card base I think I purchased from the Reject Shop, and it's really thick. It's really nice actually. I'm just measuring everything up, just making sure that the side and the bottom are aligned before I stick the panel on. As you can see here, I'm using scissors to do the second half of that cut. I just find it a lot easier to be precise if I cut the first time with either the scissors or the trimmer in this case. And then for that back part, I'll go in and I will use the scissors when everything is aligned, just using glue to adhere it, and that's the second card done. Here we have the Universal Crafts sticky mat. I've had this for quite some time. I use this for dies that I've already pre-cut and then I decide that I want to colour in, and it works really, really well. Here I'm just using the Victorian Velvet Distress Oxide by Tim Holtz, just adding some colour onto this die, and then I will clear up the mat using some baby wipes, just getting off as much of the ink as I can, and then I'll set it to the side so it can dry. Here I'm just trying to play around with a few dies that I'd already had cut. I have this Happy Easter die, that die that we've just coloured in, and then I have this background that uses a pattern paper with hearts cut out of it. And what I've decided to do is that other half of the card that was the bunny card is actually a really nice size, and the pre-cut die with the lattice is the actual perfect size for that card base. So what I've done is I have cut down the love heart background to be the same size as the card base. I'm going to glue that on using the tacky craft glue. I'm actually going to just put the glue on the actual card base itself rather than try to glue it in between all of those hearts, because you don't put on a lot of glue anyway on these backgrounds. Then I'm just going to trim off that bottom part there, as you can see, so that it is flush against the card base. Then I'm going to get the die that we have coloured in and I'm going to attach that. I played around to see if the backside, the white, looked better than having the tone on tone, but I actually really like the tone on tone. The tone on tone in person, it does really stand out. It looks really pretty. Just going to glue that on here, and then I am going to place the sentiment which just says Happy Easter. And this is a die that gives you the shadow layer along with the words as well, and I really like this one just because it has the bunny ears within the actual wording. Just going to pop that up with foam tape just to give it the dimension that it needs, and I'm going to use my T ruler to line everything up to make sure it is where I want it to sit on the card. I'm then going to trim away that excess piece here so that it is going to be a bit smaller than an A2 card, and this card is now completed. This is the sticky mat. You can see here that the stick is now back, so I can put the cover back on it. This here is my fourth card. This once again is a background that I've created just using the distress inks. I've then put it through an embossing folder and I have then splattered it with the white paint, and I really like this one. Pink is just my colour. I love it, and this background is definitely right up my alley. I knew I wanted to use it for Easter. I just couldn't work out for the life of me how I wanted to use it, and then I was inspired by this die here that says Excellent, and I thought that it was just perfect. So I had to go with a polka dot background white font, and then I glue all of that on. I'm going to pop it up using foam tape. I'll centre it again using that T ruler that you saw me use before. The T ruler I purchased off Shein. I haven't seen this a T ruler available in a general store. I believe that there is a brand that does one. I'm sure it's not in my price range, but I saw this one on Shein and I thought, why not? And then I'm going to stick these die bunnies. It comes as a set of 3, and I'm going to stick them at the top of the Excellent with its feet hanging down. I just thought it added to the Easterness of the Excellent statement. So I'm just going to centre these as best as I can, stick them all on, pop out their little ears. And this is what it looks like with the 3 bunny heads. Now I'm going to stick on their bunny feet. They've both got a left and a right, and I thought it best to use tweezers for this because they are very fiddly, and there was no way that I was going to be able to get it under the shadow layer of that Excellent. So tweezers were my best friends for this project. And this is what it looks like all completed. I'm going to pop it up on foam tape, and then I'm going to attach that to a card base. I'll to line up the card base again with my craft mat underneath just so that I can get it all stuck on, and then I will cut off the surrounding edges. To cut off the surrounding edges, it's easier to use my guillotine. So I'm bringing in my mini We Are Memory Keepers guillotine trimmer, lining it up with the edge. I like this because it gives you some room underneath it to be able to have that propped up with the foam, and then it just cuts usually perfectly, which it did in this case too. For the edge, I'm just going to use scissors just because it was so small. I find that it's hard once something's been popped up on foam to get that to cut correctly. That could just be a user issue though. And then I'll cut the back the same way. Moving on to my last card now, what I've decided to do is to do some rosettes, and what I wanted to do is go up by a ½ an inch each time. It doesn't work, so I've gone down to ½ an inch for every one, which you'll see later on in the video. To do the scoring, I'm going to use this Craft score tool, and I'm also going to use my mini We Are Memory Keepers scoreboard. I'm just going to demonstrate here with the purple what I do, just in case nobody has seen this particular technique before. So I'm going to line up the edge of the trimmed down piece. I'm going to turn the scoreboard the reverse. I find that it's easier to do it from that end just to get the lines where I want them to be. If I go from the top down, I tend to sometimes miss the line where I want to start off. I'm skipping every second one, so that's why I just find this a little bit easier. I'm going to go along and score the second line of each marking all the way through until I'm done. Here you go, here's what it looks like at the end. Now I'm just going to push it all together so that we make an accordion, and then I am going to glue it together so that we can form the rosette. Once that's all dry, I'm going to attach it to a piece of cardstock using my hot glue gun. Hold it all together the best that I can without hurting myself. And what I'm using are some die cuts on top. Generally, you will use circles, and I've done that on quite a few of them here, but I just had some spare dies and I thought that they fitted in with the Easter colours and the Easter theme. So I'm doing that to a whole bunch of them. I'm then getting a card base and playing around with the layout and how I think that I will like it, how many I think I would like, and the position that I think that they would work the best in. And I have this sentiment here. Once again, it has a shadow layer and it has the script layer on top. I'm just doing the reverse of what I did for the excellent. I've got white as the shadow layer and the black polka dot as the sentiment. I decided that I didn't like it on a white background, so I found this flowered paper and I'm just cutting it down to be the correct size for the card base I have, so that it covers it completely. This has the bottom and top side edges as well, with just the pink. So I wanted to make sure that I cut those bits off so that the whole base is just the roses and the script. I'm just going to measure that up and make sure that I've cut it correctly. Glue it on using the tacky craft glue. And then I'm going to play around with the rosettes again. And I'm going to see if I like the same ones as I was playing around with on the white, if that's too many, and how best to incorporate the Happy Easter. I've gone with this layout because the pink card has got the circle, but the die that I've used where I'm putting that glue on, that colour doesn't suit the background and it doesn't suit the rest of the rosettes that I have. So this way I can just make sure that I'm gluing over that completely and I just get the benefit of having the background of the rosette. Just going to glue down some mini flowers that I had in my stash. I've decided to go with black to help tie in the sentiment being in black. I know that the rule is generally that you would go odd numbers, which would be 3 or 5 in this case, but I did feel like 3 was not enough, 5 would be too many, and I had the perfect spots for these 4 to go, so I've decided to go with 4, and this is the end result. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment below on what you would do differently if you like any of these cards. Do you make your own backgrounds? I'd love to hear from you guys. Apart from that, thanks again for watching guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye guys.